Hey friends! I'm recording on my phone, so that's why it looks a little weird. Anyways, I am here a little late to the game with the mid-year book freakout tag. So I have been watching so many of these on BookTube that it's like my new favorite thing to watch right now. And I decided maybe it's time that I try it. Why not? I mean, gotta start somewhere. So today I have for you my mid-year book freakout tag. So far this year, I have had a pretty good reading year compared to last year. So my Goodreads goal for the year was 40 books. Looking back on it, I probably should have set it higher, but I wanted to start small and not really make myself too overwhelmed. And I have read a total of 53 books for the year so far as of today, June 13th. I am in the process of finishing another book right now, so pretty soon it'll be 54. But anyways, so I have a few books for you today to go through for the tags. The original challenge goes back a while. I can't remember who started it, but if you've seen other book tag freakout videos, you'll know who started the challenge. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. There are a few books I don't have with me because I either got rid of them or a friend borrowed them. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So like a lot of other booktubers, I do not have one favorite book for the entirety of 2019. I actually have two that I'm going to talk about. You've probably heard about at least one of them all over BookTube because that's how I found out about it. So the best book that I've read so far in 2019 is between these two titles. The first one being Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This book is awesome. It is so cute. It is so fluffy. The banter between the two characters is adorable. I love the story. I'm not really into politics too much, but I didn't think that this book really went too in-depth to politics, which I was appreciative of. So this follows our main character, Alex, who is the first son of the President of the United States. The President of the United States is his mother, so we have our first woman president. And then him over here is Henry. Henry, I was right, it was Henry, who is the Prince of England. So basically how the story starts is these two end up getting into a little bit of trouble at this party at the beginning of the year, and a scandal happens, everyone's talking about it, so they end up having to pretend to be best friends. This is a hate to love romance. At the beginning, Alex absolutely hates Henry, doesn't know why, he just hates him, and the two end up falling in love. It is so cute. The banter between them is hilarious. The relationship between them is beautiful. I loved this book. It was just everything you could have wanted in a book and more. My other book that I have for my favorite in 2019 is Miracle Creek by Andreea Gems. So this is a book of the month that I got a couple months ago when it came out. This is a courtroom kind of legal drama thriller. It is so good. So it follows our family, the Yunes, I believe. I read the so young Yunes. And they have this new experiment going on in the woods that you go into this submarine thing and you get just pure oxygen for little periods of time. It's supposed to cure like illnesses. There's someone in it who is infertile, and there is a couple kids with autism in it, and it's this new scientific experiment that is supposed to help with those kinds of things and cure them essentially. What ends up happening is a fire erupts and two people end up dying, and it becomes this whole big scandal where the family is getting sued essentially by the state. And it follows this main character whose son dies, and she is blamed for his death and as starting the fire. So as you're reading through this book, you are convinced that it was this woman's fault, that she's guilty as they come, and you learn more and more about each character. It is told in different perspectives of each character that was there for the explosion or was the next session that was supposed to go in and saw the explosion happen. And you learn all these little secrets about all of them and the real reason why they're engaging in this experiment. And as you go through, you find out who actually did do it. It's not who we expected it to be, and it's this whole big twist, and a lot of family secrets come to light. It's really good. So Andreea Gems actually was a lawyer, so she is able to bring that court experience to life in a way that you can understand it if you're not big into the lawyer stuff like I'm not. And it's a really, really good book. So I highly recommend you picking this up. The next book I have, the next question is, best sequel you've read so far. So one of the books, I have two for this as well. One of them I don't actually have on hand with me because I let one of my friends borrow it. And the other isn't really a sequel, but more of a companion novel. But to me, I consider it to be a sequel. And that is There's Something About Sweetie by Sanjay Menon. So this follows Rishi from One Dimple Met Rishi's brother, Ashish Patel, and his kind of love story, I guess, with our main character, Sweetie. What ends up happening is Ashish just went through a breakup and he's heartbroken, and it's affecting his everyday life. So he asked his parents to set him up with someone, and they set him up with Sweetie. Sweetie is an athlete at school, but is often looked down upon because of her weight, because she is heavier. And her mother always tells her that she's not going to get a man if she's not going to lose weight, and it's super cute. There's a lot of body positivity. The romance between the two of them is really great. The confidence that Sweetie shows throughout the story is really empowering, and Dimple and Rishi do make an appearance in this book, which made my heart so happy because that was just a wonderful story of this year. It was almost one of the books that I put in best I've read in 2019, but if I did that, I would have so many favorites, so I just narrowed it down to two, which was actually really hard. The other sequel that I don't have with me is I Heart Hawaii by Lindsay Kelk. So there is a series that's been going on for about 10 years involving Angela Clark, and she flies from London to New York to start over after she finds out her fiance is cheating on her with someone at her best friend's wedding. So she flies to New York to get away with him and start over again. You follow her through all of her mishaps. She ends up going to several different places. She becomes friends with famous people. She ends up falling in love with the lead singer of the band The Stills, Alex. They get married, and this book is the conclusion to the whole series. So this is the 8th book in the series. I don't want to spoil everything that happens because I already spoiled who she ends up marrying, but it was a really cute way to conclude the series. I was really sad the series ended because I've been reading these books since they came out 10 years ago, but I, as the avid reader and the follower of this series, was really happy with how Lindsay Kelk executed the ending, and I'm hoping that she does make another one, because her book before that one, I Heart Forever, which came out in 2017, was supposed to be the final conclusion to the series, but then she surprised us all and came out with I Heart Hawaii. And I Heart Hawaii focuses on a trip that Angie goes on with some of her friends that her best friend Jenny gets her to go for free. It's all paid for because Jenny is doing a kind of product, what's it called? I can't think of what the word is, but she is advertising. She's advertising this product, and the trip is all about this product, and it's paid for by this product. So it's basically a free trip to Hawaii. So Angie's like, yeah, why not? And she ends up getting into the same mishaps that she always gets into with every book. So it was really good. The next book is, I have my computer out so I can remember the tags. New release you haven't read yet but want to. Wow, there are so many of these. But I did pick just one, and that is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. So this book just came out, I believe, the beginning of this month, and it follows our main character, who is an apartment sitter, and she sits this apartment that has a lot of wealthy and famous people living there. Everything that happens in this apartment building is kind of hush-hush, so someone is killed and no one wants to talk about it. So it sounds like it's going to be a really good thriller. I read Riley Sager's other book, The Last Time I Lied, which came out, I think, 2 years ago or last year, and took place at camp, and I really did enjoy that one. So when I heard that he was coming out with this one, I had to get my hands on it. The next one I have is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So I don't have it with me because I pre-ordered it. I would have loved to have gotten a arc of it at BookCon, but I wasn't lucky enough. I'm not going to go into explaining this book because everyone's been talking about it on BookTube, and that is The 10th Girl by Sarah Farren. I am very excited about that one. It sounds like it's going to be a really good thriller with some sci-fi aspect. I'm not big on sci-fi and fantasy, but this book sounds like it's going to have a good balance with the thriller aspect, so I'm really looking forward to that. It takes place in this boarding school that has 10 girls. It is on the tip of Chile, I believe, and the 10th girl goes missing. So it sounds like it's going to be really good. That's kind of the shortened synopsis of it. But if you are looking for more detail about it, BookTube has been talking about it since BookCon, so I'm sure someone has it out there that can explain it better than I could. The next book I have is two of them. No, I don't have this book either because I got rid of it because I really didn't like it. And that is the biggest disappointment. I'm just so excited I can't talk of the year. And that for me would be The Marriage Pact by Michelle Richmond. So it's exactly what it sounds like. You follow these two newlyweds who get visited by a neighbor who offers them I can't think of words today, offers them admission into this kind of, we don't talk about it, cult, the Marriage Pact. It is essentially a cult and no one talks about it. You're not allowed to talk about the Marriage Pact, and it follows those two characters and all the kind of sketchy stuff that goes on within the Marriage Pact. I really thought that it was going to be so much better than it actually was. I hated it. I thought it was poorly executed. I thought it dragged on, and it was not at all what I expected. And I was really bummed about it because the synopsis sounded so good, and that would be my biggest disappointment for this year. The next book I have is The Biggest Surprise of 2019, and that is none other than Caravelle by Stephanie Garber. So again, you've heard me talk about it. I'm not huge on fantasy, but when I heard about this book, I was very intrigued. So I picked it up and gave it a try, and I am so glad that I did. I ended up going out and buying the second two books. It is a trilogy. I'm very excited to dive into those once this month is over and I get through my TBR for July. So this follows our main characters who are sisters. I read this a while ago, so I can't remember the names. Scarlett and her sister Tella, and they live on this island, and their father is a very powerful man. He's like the leader of the island, and he is not the nicest man. And our main character Scarlett has been dreaming about going to the Caravelle, which takes place once a year. You have to get a special ticket to it, and it's this magical game that you go into that lasts 7 days. It tells you what the prize is, and you have to try to get that prize by the end of Caravelle, or you lose, essentially. But if you win this big extravagant prize. So this year at Caravelle, Scarlett and her sister Tella are invited, and the prize for the year is one wish. And Scarlett is stuck in this life. She wants to protect her sister Tella. She has to be, she has an arranged marriage coming up, so she uses this time to try to use that one wish to save her and her sister from the life that they're living on this island. So they go to Caravelle. Essentially, Scarlett's sister Tella goes missing, so this whole time while she's at Caravelle, she finds out that the object of the game is to find her sister in order for her to win the wish. But she's supposed to get married during Caravelle within the middle of the week, so she's kind of rushing to try to figure out what this surprise is and finding her sister and going through all these games and these clues that she gets while also trying to get home in time for this arranged marriage to not upset her father. There's a lot of twists that happen in this book that I did not see coming. It is a little bit of a thicker book, but the storyline is really magical. It's just a fun read, and this was definitely my biggest surprise because I was not expecting to like this as much as I did because I am not an avid fantasy reader, but I really did enjoy this more than I expected, and I'm very excited to finish the series off. The next book is, well, the next tag, I should say, is new favorite author. It can be a debut author or new to you. So I do have two for this. There's a surprise. My first one is Sunday Menon. So I read When Dimple Met Rishi earlier this year and fell in love with it. So when she came out from Twinkle with Love and Something About Sweetie, I had to have them. I loved her books. I love her stories. I like how they all coincide, and she has easily become one of my favorite authors this year. I did meet her at BookCon in June, which I had in my BookCon video, and she was so sweet. It just made me love her more. The next one that I did pick for author is a debut author, and that is Isabel Sterling, and I read her book, These Witches Don't Burn. This is a young adult fantasy. Again, I was nervous about picking this up because I am not big on fantasy, but this story was beautiful. You can check out about it in my review that I posted about this, and I loved the way that Isabel wrote. I loved her storyline. I loved her character. She kept me drawn in, and I'm excited to read more books by her. Number 10, Andreea Gems You've Discovered Recently. I did pick one for this, and that is A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. So this book is very social worky, which I like to say because I did mention in the previous videos I am a social worker. So this follows our main character, Adam, who is in his senior year of high school, and he gets kind of like this internship opportunity to work with the school psychologist. What's different about Adam is his mother is actually a foster parent. So when he finds out that this boy Julian is in his school and he is partnered to work with Julian, he finds out that Julian was actually his foster brother a few years ago when Julian's parents died and before Julian moved in with his uncle. So Julian works really hard to try to avoid Adam at all costs because he feel like Adam abandoned him because he was living with Adam and his mom, and then all of a sudden he was with his uncle who he doesn't have the best relationship with, and there's a lot of sketchy, unfortunate things going on in that home. So Adam has to try to figure out, and he makes it his mission to connect Julian, figure out what's going on, and be sort of a mentor to him. I believe one of them had ADHD as well. Adam has ADHD, so he can never sit still. This book was really cute. I loved all the aspects of it. It was very emotional. It talked about a lot of dark topics, but in a very appropriate way. And Adam really did become an important person to Julian, and it's just really great to see this friendship blossom between the two of them and see that Julian is capable of making friends and is capable of living a good life, even though all he's had up until now is nothing but obstacles and heartbreak, and he's just so beaten down about this. So it was a really, really sweet book. I really enjoyed it. It's not that big, so I highly recommend, if you guys haven't heard of this, to pick it up. It's a very intense story, but it's also heartwarming at the same time. The next book I have is a book that made you cry. So this book is a little bit personal for me. So I knew that when I was going to pick it up, I was going to have a hard time with it. So that is 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott. So this follows our two main characters. I only remember the actors' names. Stella and Will, who have cystic fibrosis and spend a lot of their time in the hospital. So for those of you that don't know, I do have cystic fibrosis myself. Luckily, my case of it is very mild compared to the two characters in this book who have it a lot more harder than I do, and I just was able to relate to so many things in this book. It made me so grateful about my case being so mild, and it was a really emotional read for me, but it was a beautiful story. It's so nice to see cystic fibrosis being talked about in literature because a lot of people don't know what it is, and it's good to raise light and awareness to this issue. So it follows our two main characters. Stella is in the hospital waiting for a lung transplant, and Will is in the hospital because he has a certain form of cystic fibrosis that is very deadly. And with cystic fibrosis, there's different mutations that you can develop, and what is the word? I literally can't think of any words today. Anyways, so he has this mutation that is very deadly. There's no cure for it. He's going through several experiments for it. He's about to turn 18 and he's just done. He wants to live his life. He knows he's going to die and he's accepted it. So Stella has a bit of OCD and is very kind of controlling. So when she sees that Will isn't going through his medication regimen and isn't doing his treatments, she makes it her mission to get him back on track and control how he does it so that he can do it with her. And the two end up falling in love, but they can't kiss because with cystic fibrosis, if two people with cystic fibrosis are within a certain amount of feet with each other, which is technically 6 feet, but this is 5 feet, and I'm not going to give that away onto why they changed that. And they have to like be apart at all times. So she uses like a pool stick to separate them because you can breathe in the different mutations and germs and you could actually make your case a lot worse. So that's why they can never have a relationship. So it is so cute. It's a beautiful love story. It's a great telling about cystic fibrosis. And this book made me bawl my eyes out, and the movie made me cry just as hard. So I highly recommend reading this if you guys haven't picked it up. I did skip a question, which is rereads that you did this year. I haven't reread anything yet. I would like to reread the Harry Potter series. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I've been dying to reread the series for a while now. It's a long commitment, and I have all these other books that I want to read ahead of time. So there are no rereads for me yet this year, but that doesn't mean that there won't be at the end of the year. The next question is books that make you happy. So I have 2 of them, and they're actually by the same author because I love her writing. And that is Christina Lauren, of course. The 2 books is the Unhoneymooners and Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. I loved these books. They made me so happy. I read each of them in a day. I couldn't choose between the 2 of them which one made me happier. They're both love to hate romances. This one is more of a good summer read. It follows our main characters, Ethan and Olive, and Olive's twin sister is getting married, and at the wedding, everyone eats the seafood except for Olive and Ethan. and everyone gets sick. So her sister won this free honeymoon, and someone has to go because it's non-refundable. So Olive and Ethan, Olive is the maid of honor and Ethan is the best man, end up going together on this honeymoon. They're not pleased about it because they don't like each other, but they go and have to pretend that they're newlyweds. Basically, one thing leads to another. They end up developing a relationship that really blossoms over their time in Hawaii. So when they come back, everyone's surprised to see that they're dating, and they have to figure out how they're going to continue their relationship. It is so cute. It is so fun. It's flirty. It's a good time. Made me really happy. And this book, oh, I will forever love this book. This was another one of my top reads for the year, but again, I didn't want to make this video super long of all my top reads. But this follows Josh and Hazel, who work together, I believe. No, I'm thinking of another book. So Josh and Hazel have known each other since college. He was a professor, I believe, and they're both professors. I can't remember, but anyways, the two end up, they hate each other. They've never gotten along. They run into each other 10 years after college. Hazel is really embarrassed of being around Josh because she sent him kind of a drunken romantic email, and he continues to bring it up. He just went through a relationship where he was cheated on, so he's really heartbroken and very guarded, and the two reconnect and they fall in love, and it is so cute. They made a vow before this to set each other up on blind dates. All of them go horrible, so they end up, having a little fun one night, if you know what I mean, and then it just keeps happening and it builds into a relationship, and by the end of the book they are together and some crazy stuff happens at the end of the book. It's super cute. It says just friends, just friends, just friends. If they repeat it enough, maybe it'll be true. They are in denial about their relationship for quite some time, and then they learn to accept it. Christina Lauren, if you don't know, is two different authors. They're best friends who write together. Their stories are always cute little romantic contemporary books, and always a quick fun read. They're great for the summer. I read actually the Unhung Honeymooners this summer, and I read Josh and Hazel when I was on my cruise in March, so I had that beach vibe going on. So those two books really did make me happy for this year. And then I believe the last question is most beautiful book you've bought this year. So I just bought this book a couple days ago. It's going to be in my book haul video, and that is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. So I heard about this book from Super Space Chick on YouTube, and she sold me on this. It is a fantasy, but it is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. It sounded so good the way that she described it, so I saw it at the bookstore and I had to pick it up. And I think this cover is gorgeous. I love the red and black. I think it's a really nice color combination. I like the little crown on top. I like the writing on the front. And the inside of the book itself is red, and the outside is gorgeous. I mean, look at this. This is so pretty. I like it's got the Alice in Wonderland theme going on. So this would have to be by far the beautiful book that I've purchased this year. And the last question is goals for the rest of the year. I have so many of those goals. My biggest one right now that I'm focusing on is trying to get through my book of the month books between my 2 subscriptions. I think I have about 12 books. So that's really my goal for the year. I would like to reach possibly 70 books by the end of the year. I'm already at 53, so I'm not too far. But that is kind of where I'm at. And another goal I have for myself is to try some more fantasy. I did pick up Cassandra Clare's Mortal Instruments series, and it's sitting on my shelf. And I'm looking forward to starting those as well. So really I have a few goals. It's getting through my book of the month, trying new books, like new genres, and what was the other one I just had? Oh, read 70 books. So there you have it, guys. That's my mid-year book freakout tag. I will say that so far this has been a pretty good reading year, and I'm looking forward to see what the second half of the year brings. Bye!